I think we have strong empirical evidence that human consciousness interacts with physical reality in a way that defies our conventional understanding. In the most extreme case, it might mean that our notion of what reality is just fundamentally wrong. I'm John Valentino, and I'm a heretic because I believe that consciousness impacts the physical world in a way that is not currently accounted for by science.
Radicals, dissidents, rebels, and misfits. You can call them whatever you like, but what if they're right?
When I was 17, I started working at the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, where we studied the idea that human consciousness can interact with the output of random physical systems. The way the experiment worked was that you take these things that conventional physics says are fundamentally random, and we have a person come in, they sit down in front of one of these devices. Usually they'll be using some kind of game or software on the computer. For example, there'll be a graph where the line on the graph could go up or the line on the graph could go down. So they'll state an intention like, I want to see the line go up. The experiment from the participant's standpoint involves nothing other than that. They're sitting there, they're stating an intention, they're watching an output. But from our standpoint, we know exactly how the device should behave according to classical and quantum physics, and the output in that situation should be fundamentally random. What we find is that some participants actually create fairly significant deviations in a way that corresponds to their intention. There's no reason whatsoever in a conventional understanding of the world why that should happen. I think the most exciting thing about this is that it just suggests that there's a much larger reality out there than we're aware of. If our findings are true, I think there's an entire realm of ways in which people's thoughts, intentions, and feelings could have a very direct impact on their health. There may be mechanisms out there where your thoughts literally affect the physical world around you, literally affect your physical body, literally affect what's possible for you. And I think if people realize that, or if they believe that, and they incorporate it a little bit more into their day-to-day life, they'd probably have a little bit more wonder in the world and maybe find that they get more interesting and positive outcomes.
So the skeptic hat has to come on.
Sure.
Have you had any interactions with skeptic organizations, and how do they respond to this?
The genuine skeptics often have questions about the apparatus. They want to know if the apparatus is truly random. They want to make sure that there aren't other kinds of interference. On the cynic side, I think a lot of people who just say, this can't be true, it's not possible, clearly you cheated. And to that, what I like to ask people is what is the actual incentive for the researchers to do this? The actual reality is that most of us who have been involved in this field have had to basically forego academic positions, lose other grant funding, basically give up a lot of things in order to do the work. The standard scientific way of thinking about the role of the mind in the physical world is that a person is built up of cells, which are built up from molecules, which are built up from atoms, and they are fundamentally removed and disconnected from the physical environment that's not in contact with them. I think this kind of work should lead people to question that possibility, and that at a minimum, there might be some way in which their mind can directly interact with other minds and with other physical substance in a way that we don't yet understand. I think that science, broadly defined, is about finding truth in reality. So if you're using a process of honest inquiry to understand the physical world, I think that's brilliant and perfect, and I think that's what we should all be doing. I think the thing that people miss is that our scientific methodology as it stands right now, there is a lot of bias and sort of institutional pressure that affects what kinds of questions people can answer, what kind of research they can do, what's good for their career or not. So there's sort of a human sociological and socioeconomic sort of corrupting force that I think makes it harder to do true science. I think every member of the public should question the information they receive, whether it's from news organizations, TV shows, interviews, professors. They should question it, and they should always develop their own test and filter to figure out what they think is true.
Even you?
Even me, absolutely. Yes, they should absolutely question me. I think everyone should question the received wisdom and see what they can learn.